Today, we're going to test the brand new Lenovo Legion Y700 Gen 4. After 7 months, what upgrades has it made? In terms of design, the Gen 4 has changed compared to the Gen 3, but not significantly. For example, the positions of the side volume buttons, power button, the speaker openings on the top and bottom, and the dual Type-C ports are basically unchanged. It still uses a metal unibody design, but the overall body is lighter and thinner than the previous generation. For the color, I prefer the ice white. Paired with the large logo of Legion, it's highly recognizable and has a panda-like visual feel. Also, in terms of feel, there's a significant difference between black and white. Both have a matte back panel. Black feels more delicate, but it's prone to slipping. The white version, possibly due to the metallic paint, has more resistance when held, and it's more noticeable when you have sweaty hands. It's more stable for single-handed use. The camera module on the back is slimmer and longer, removing the 2-megapixel tactical macro lens. The module has 2 layers. The decorative layer protrudes less, while the upper layer protrudes more. Considering the usage scenarios of a tablet camera, a single camera is indeed more in line with the positioning of the Y700. Coming to the front, the large plastic bezel around the screen, which many people complained about, has finally been removed. Overall, it does look cleaner and more refined. However, the screen bezels are still narrow on the left and right and wide on the top and bottom, an uneven design. Hopefully, the next generation can upgrade to even bezels. The screen size and aspect ratio remain unchanged, still 16:10 and 8.8 inches. However, this LCD is a customized one by Legion. The resolution has been upgraded from 2.5K in the previous generation to 3K. The screen PPI has reached 408, and the display clarity has been further improved. Using the Color Monkey display, the screen's maximum brightness is around 600 nits. After turning on the high brightness mode, it can reach an average of around 750 nits. For manual brightness, third-party apps can directly reach around 650 nits. Since it's a small tablet focused on gaming performance, the gaming aspect is definitely what everyone is most concerned about. The Y700 Gen 4's core SoC has been replaced with the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. Everyone should be very familiar with the performance of this processor on mobile phones. So, on a tablet with stronger heat dissipation capabilities, can it further break through the upper limit? First, let's look at Genshin Impact. At the highest rendering quality, the Y700 Gen 4 currently renders at 1080p. The average frame rate is 59.6 frames, and the frame rate is basically a straight line. The overall power consumption is 7.6 watts, and the maximum temperature of the body is 40.8 degrees Celsius. In terms of scheduling, the main load is on the 2 ultra-large cores, which can directly reach 4.32 GHz. The 6 performance cores are used for support, and the entire process uses dynamic frequency scaling. The average frequency is 2.47 plus 1.63 GHz. For Honkai Impact 3rd, the rendering resolution is 876p. After a 20-minute run, the average is 60 frames. The frame rate is almost a straight line, even more stable than Genshin Impact. The overall power consumption is 8.5 watts, and the maximum body temperature is 40.7 degrees Celsius. However, the scheduling in Honkai Impact 3rd is significantly different from Genshin Impact. It's not a strategy of rapid frequency increase and decrease, but rather a stepped constant frequency. For the first 3 minutes or so, both the ultra-large cores and performance cores can reach their maximum frequency. Afterwards, they stabilize at 3.07 and 1.55 GHz respectively. The main load is still on the ultra-large cores. During the middle part, the frequency of the ultra-large cores will fluctuate somewhat. Finally, let's bring out the mobile SoC performance killer, Star Rail, the moment of truth. The Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 on mobile phones has no problem conquering 750p, but 1080p is basically a lost cause. After all, the small body of a mobile phone's heat dissipation simply can't handle it. You can refer to our previous test of the OnePlus 11R with its lag issues. On the Y700, the highest rendering resolution is 1724 by 1080, which is much higher than on mobile phones. As for whether it can hold steady, it's still quite stable. The average is 59.4 frames. Occasionally, there will be some fluctuation, dropping to around 55 frames. The overall power consumption is 11.5 watts, and the maximum body temperature is around 45 degrees Celsius. However, even with a performance release of around 12 watts, the palm rest area of the Y700 Gen 4 still doesn't feel hot. The measured temperature is only around 39 degrees Celsius.
The center-mounted motherboard design is commendable. Of course, the large VC liquid cooling also plays a significant role. The 8 Gen 3 platform's Y700 Gen 3 in this scenario averages 49.3 frames, with an overall power consumption of 11.3 W. The frame rate fluctuates frequently between 36 and 60 throughout. The iPad Mini 6 has an even larger gap, averaging only around 40.8 frames. Of course, this is also related to the iPad Mini 6 not having VC liquid cooling, and its performance release being conservative. The overall performance release is basically within 7W. If it could be opened up to 10W, the frame rate would definitely improve improve further. In addition to performance, another improvement in the gaming experience of the Y700 Gen 4 this time is the touch. The 360Hz true touch sampling rate, when requiring more precise touch operations, will feel more responsive than the previous generation. Currently, a noticeable scenario is aiming down sights in shooting games. When the Y700 Gen 4 is aiming with a high magnification scope, the aiming operation is noticeably more stable and precise, unlike many previous tablets where even a slight finger movement would cause the crosshair to drift significantly. In daily scheduling, for continuous app launches and multitasking quick switching, the CPU can boost to the highest frequency based on the load. It doesn't impose appropriate restrictions on core frequencies like some 8 Plus Gen 1 phones. After all, with this body size, it can indeed run freely. In terms of system animations, there have been improvements compared to last year. For example, large folders have added pop-up scaling animations instead of just appearing instantly. However, there's still a gap compared to the first tier. App opening and closing animations are slightly faster, but the trajectory still feels a bit stiff. The game vision feature, which received widespread praise in the previous two generations, is still retained. After all, many games now are by default adapted to the elongated aspect ratio of mobile phones. For a 16:10 tablet, if this aspect ratio adjustment setting isn't built in, it's easy to be at a disadvantage in terms of field of view. With this feature, you can even increase the screen's field of view in reverse. The Game Assistant function, in addition to monitoring the tablet's performance status at any time, can now also time key information within games. In terms of high refresh rate strategy, it maintains the consistent openness of Legion tablets. In the default smart refresh rate mode, all 30 apps run at 120 Hz, with no instances of locked frame rates. Testing shows that it's basically 120 Hz when scrolling through information feeds. Video playback will automatically drop to 60 Hz. Static screens will drop to 30 Hz. Last year, the Y700 Gen 3's battery capacity was a step backward compared to the Gen 2, which was a small point of criticism. After all, for a high-performance small tablet, there's a high probability that people will put it in their bags and take it out to play. Long battery life is also a rigid demand. This year, the battery capacity has been increased to 7600 mAh, with 200 nits brightness, continuously playing 1080p 60fps videos on Bilibili until shutdown. It lasted for 15 hours and 6 minutes. A 3nm flagship SoC plus a large battery, the improvement compared to the previous generation is obvious. However, the charging is still the ancestral 68W. It can charge to 42% in 15 minutes. The peak power can reach around 61W. Because the battery is larger, the full charge time has also been extended to 56 minutes. The overall external specifications of the tablet haven't changed much, which is considered a good tradition of the last three generations. For example, the dual X-axis linear motors provide crisp and clean vibrations. However, the vibration adaptation of the default input method is average. It's recommended to use the WeChat input method to unleash the full haptic feedback effect. The dual Type-C ports are also present, allowing simultaneous charging and headphone use without interference. Moreover, the bottom Type-C port can directly output DP to a display. Also, this generation has brought back the TF card slot that was removed in the previous generation, which is a joy for emulator players.
Overall, the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 plus large VC liquid cooling plus a metal body. Under the triple buff, the Y700 Gen 4 has further consolidated its position in the field of high-performance small tablets. Especially in high-load games, it leads the 8 Gen 3 tablets and iPad mini 6 by a significant margin. It also reserves some performance headroom for future new AAA games. Of course, compared to the previous generation, after the touch was upgraded to 306 Hz, it will be more friendly for players who often play shooting games or MOBA games. This time, the newly upgraded Savior G9 game controller can also make the Y700 instantly transform into a large-screen Android handheld. The controller is compatible with Gen 2, 3, and 4. Anyway, for some games, using buttons and joysticks, the experience feedback should be much better than swiping on glass. In other aspects, the main upgrades this time are improvements to the points that some users complained about in the previous generation. For example, removing the large plastic bezel around the screen, bringing back the TF card slot, and increasing the battery capacity while making the overall body lighter and thinner. Although there's only a 7-month gap, the overall upgrade intensity is much greater than the iPad mini 6 to mini 7. It's more suitable for heavy users who often play demanding games. Okay, that's all the content for this video. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.